Hey Neil,
Hi, Guy.
how you doing?
I'm fine. Can you hear me okay, or is the road noise too big?
Oh, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, good.
Sorry about that confusion with that.
That was
I'm
my
not
I
sure.
said, hey, Guy finally got me out of this Zoom scheduling business. I was going to send you a Christmas bonus.
Well, we can do that if everybody agrees to do Google Meet. I'm fine with that. I
I'd
just
be
don't
fine
have
with
as
that.
yeah. Although I'm going to be president-elect, maybe that's one of the duties of the
Yeah, that'll
president
be
has
their
to
first assignment. Is get Neil out of the scheduling business because he's not very good at it.
do.
So we were, just as we're waiting for him to join. So I was working on this little M&A project, and one of the parties hired a law firm. And I don't know, I couldn't believe when they told me this person joined every call. $650 an hour, joined every call. All this person did was schedule the Zoom meeting. So I told the CEO, I said, Jeff, I'm really capable of scheduling a Zoom meeting. He said, I know. I said, can we find out what she does? He says, I've asked and they won't ever tell me. But she's the one that at the end of the meeting says, okay, I'll schedule the next meeting. And I'm like, I could do this. I'll charge a lot less than $6.50 an hour. Anyway, it's kind of funny. But that wasn't the worst. Well, the worst was the lead attorney from the other side. His bill rate was $1,035 an hour.
Oh my goodness.
And all I ever heard him say was, yeah, that's okay with us. Yeah, that's okay with us.
Wow.
I can do that. I could, for less than $10.35 an hour, I could say, yeah, we're fine with that.
Yeah.
Oh, it just killed me.
Yeah. It blows me away what some people charge.
Oh, I know.
Talk about lawyers primarily or legal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a lot cheaper than that. I'm much cheaper than that.
Yeah, so am I.
most of my consulting, I say just buy me a lunch and we're good.
I will work for food.
Yeah, we'll work for food, but it has to be
like
a lunch.
An entry-level lawyer charges like $300 an hour. It's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you wonder how people can afford to even get divorced or get anything.
So sometime I'll tell you the story of how a little consulting advising job, what the compound bow I got out, the compound bow, like an archery bow.
That's fun.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a great story. Anyway, well, I won't bore you with it now because you probably got important stuff to cover.
Well, I gotta apologize to everybody. Somehow, some errant meeting got created that copied the people from this meeting, but had no title, and it came from me instead of from Neil. I think it's happened twice now, and I'm a little baffled. So if anybody has that invitation that you received, I don't even have it in my sent box. I don't know. I'd love to do some forensics on it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out. When I get to my desk, to my laptop, I can send you the header information. I'll send it to you.
Okay, that'd be great. I'd love to look at that because I'm baffled.
Yeah.
So I don't think this would be a pretty dumb way to compromise my account and start playing games because it's really obvious to see. And but so I don't think my account's compromised, but I don't know how it keeps doing that.
I used to tell the cyber auditors when they'd show up and they'd ask me about email security. I said, I'm worried about phishes, but I welcome any hacker that wants to get into my email box. All they would get is depressed.
Yeah, I've got like 149,000 messages in my email. That's probably not a good computer.
Now that hurts.
Wow.
Okay.
But I can always find stuff.
We clearly need to do a session just with you on the beauty of lean tools, including finance.
Oh, but I can go back and find anything.
Search tools. By way of business, next week, I'm going to send an email out after this to everybody, but next week we're going to hold the elections for next year, and only a few need to be reelected right now. So we've got the chair. Well, the chair doesn't need to be elected because Mike's the chair-elect, Mike McNorden, and he'll be the chair. I'll be the past chair, so Neil's going to be off the hook.
Yay! So that's too bad.
And I've got to look through the rest. There is the other positions, program coordinator, secretary, and librarian. They each serve 2 years. The program coordinator will be elected in even years. So that's this year. And the secretary, treasurer, and library will be elected in odd years. So that'll be next year. So this year, we really only need, we need a chair-elect, and we need a program coordinator. So 2 volunteers, 2 people that say, have that stamp across their head that says, ask me, I'll do it. And we're asking. Okay. So Neil is coordinating the candidates. So if you're willing and able, just let Neil know, and then
yes, reach out to me. Yes, please.
Okay. I will do that.
And then we'll figure out a way to do the voting and everything, probably just during the meeting next week. It's probably just needs to be a low key. Let's just, whoever's here, we'll call it a quorum and go for it, because our interested membership is much larger than what show up. But if they don't show up, then they don't get to vote, I think. And I think as long as it's just not 2 of us here, if it's 6 or 7 of us, I think we'll have enough. And I don't think anybody's going to complain. We just need to have somebody willing to be in those seats and doing it.
And I think if anybody complains, we automatically promote them to some position on the board.
They're automatically elected.
Exactly. If somebody else wants it, I'm happy to step aside. That.
And okay, so thank you, Bettina, for being willing. And if you reach out to Neil, and
yes, and anybody else too, and I'll test her. But it would be lovely to have a nice full board complement just to share
the load. And I know, like Bettina and MZ, you have both done a bit of work in getting our speakers, so that's been wonderful. That's so helpful. And
yeah, I can probably a lot more from the Dallas area too. So I just have.
And then the other thing is, obviously, if you want to shape the direction of it, this is your opportunity. So.
Yeah. Yep. It's very good.
I'm worried about drones and AI with everything that's going on right now.
Worried about what?
Drones and AI.
Oh, drones. Yeah. Okay. On to the news then. Unless somebody has other things they want to talk about right now. Let's talk through.
Hey, Guy.
Let's go.
Just real quick. Are you going to email that out to the group at large so that everyone who isn't in attendance today will be able to respond to that?
Yeah. I was working on that draft right before the meeting started. So I'll get that out right after the meeting, or if everybody's having a great conversation, I might just work on it during the meeting. So
awesome.
But yeah, we'll get that out to everybody. Yeah, so there's been a lot going on in the news on AI. So Bettina, you brought up drones. Tell us about that.
Well, the drones that are flying over New Jersey, there's all sorts of theories going on. I mean, the government spokespeople are saying it's no danger, but then they also don't say they don't know what it is. And so there's theories that it could be some kind of Black Hawk kind of, or black, what do you call it? Like the government trying things out. Yeah. Or there's other people that think it's like a ship from Iran is sending them out. Apparently they range in size from small to as big as a bus. I mean, literally flying over.
Or Elon is bored and is having fun,
It could be that too. It could be that too. I'd be happier if it was that, right?
Yeah,
that's crazy. Nobody knows. Nobody's defining what it is, and they're all over the place. And apparently, if you get close to them, they turn their lights off, so you can't even get a good view of them. But they're high up. I've heard they're high up above the fly plane for the fly level for helicopters and possibly even over where the airplanes can fly. So they're way above that range.
That's so the jets fly up at what, 36,000 feet. So that's
They're
40,000.
up
That's
at 50,000 from what I heard.
Wow.
50. Oh, the drones are.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow,
So
that's
the
crazy.
question is why no one's taking them down? You know, the bus-sized drones are not my husband's drone, you know.
Well, then are they fast or are they, I mean, are they like I'm thinking of the military drones that are, they look like airplanes but a little bit smaller. Are they that kind of a thing? Or
Hmm.
they're
Yeah, these are SUV-sized drones.
Yeah. They're
okay.
big.
So, but the U.S. has drones patrolling both coasts, and they go out
Right.
into
How
in
does
the
how does
ocean
anyone
patrol.
gauge that it's an SUV-sized drone when it's at 50,000 feet?
That's a
How
good
do you get
question.
them?
I think that's the challenge is being able to determine size when it's high in the air because you have nothing to compare it with.
Right. Like I've read all these reports and they're all random, and it seems like a bunch of conspiracy theorists with their hats on.
Right.
And
Well,
I
It
mean,
does,
I'm not
but
really
there's photographs and
sophisticated.
videos of them flying there. It's
not
crazy.
if it's at 50,000 feet. There's not like like you'd have to
You'd have
get
to-
super lucky with a really good telephoto lens from an airplane.
Yeah,
Like
I haven't heard the 50,000 foot level plane yet, but they
Yeah,
did
me
have a
neither.
lot of video that obviously is less than 50 because you can
Yeah.
see it, and they can say that they're SUV size, and so they said the FBI is looking into it, and the Pentagon said it was not their military drones.
crazy.
I'll be laughing hard if they just picked some malware and drone just went off off the track.
road drones.
I think they
Oh.
also said they're hovering for a long time, which is kind of like 6 hours or more. So that's kind of an interesting twist as well. Because typically a drone, I mean, needs to be recharged.
Doesn't have that range.
Yeah.
Who knows? What if it has solar battery on
Yeah,
the
I mean, I
on
know
board?
about
You
this
know,
much about
it's
it,
just
but I've been hearing.
sky is the limit these days. You know.
You guys watch Skywalker Ranch or Skinwalker Ranch?
Skinwalker. I haven't watched that, no.
Yeah.
There's all these crazy things there with force fields, and they have drones go up and hit something, and then they'll fall down, and it's really crazy there. And that's about an hour from you guys.
Yeah.
That's
That guy
why I
is my
don't.
neighbor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Oh, we
He's
were about that.
pick a day. He's either driving his Ferrari or his Lamborghini. So it's quite an interesting guy.
Oh, I bet.
I
Now
don't
we
know
know where you live, Rob.
if you guys follow the war in Ukraine, the most damage that happens, on both sides is with drones.
Yeah, I've heard the drones are doing a lot there.
And so it's like the new type of war. We need
I
to
have to step away for
figure
one.
out how to trace those devices and how to deal with them because they're fast, and they can
Yeah.
actually see things.
Well, so I saw a headline. I didn't get to this article yet, but it's talking about, and my chain of thought just went off on what you were saying, MZ. But I think AI has a really important role to play, and it's going to be interesting. This was talking about the misinformation. That the headline was the startups in Silicon Valley are responding to the massive amounts of AI generated content and information out there that is or isn't, and it was said misinformation. So I think they're kind of trying to automate the process of verifying and vetting information that you might be receiving. But I didn't dive into it. But the same thing with drones, one of the strategies with that is just to get enough drones going after a target that it's like a swarm. You can't stop it because there's just too many of them. But if you had an AI that was capable of handling all of that, that all the data intake and then targeting and processing, I guess we do that to some extent with missiles and stuff and some of our anti or defense mechanisms there. But anyway,
Iago
kind
just
of
posted an article on chat. Did you see that?
Yeah, I was reading that article and I stopped reading because I still want my green card to say, okay, this is not helping my case. So I stopped. But you guys, American citizens, feel free to read the whole thing. It is pretty interesting.
yes, it
cool.
is, and the interesting part of it was that this whole idea of drones and, making damage using drones came up from like regular people, like on the battlefield. It's not like someone in a high-ranked institution created some kind of war weapon. It's people that didn't have anything to fight with. They started converting regular drones that they could buy off the shelf for like $1,000, carrying some, explosives and making like quite a damage. And then it went on, and the size started getting bigger and the power getting worse, and so I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I'm just thinking in order to engage in some kind of war, you don't necessarily need like billions of dollars anymore. It's enough to go to the store and get something for $1,000.
Yeah, I heard they were just hacking stuff together at the beginning.
Right.
Um,
I mean, people's creativity. I'm on the fence now a little bit with whole AI capabilities. I'm not gonna say what type of document, but I needed to draft like 3 different documents, and people say like the end product is just as good as the questions you ask, but I mean, not everyone can ask right questions, and who defines which question is right, which one is wrong. But like me supplying pretty much every piece of information that I had to generate a document, it did spin wheels, for like 3-5 minutes and then produced like a good number of pages. As I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is good. But other things were just fluff, that you don't want to have there, don't want to see there. So does it provide some assistance, and productivity, carbon productivity in creating these documents? Absolutely, yes, but human brains is still needed, big time. I wonder how that concept applies to all these drones and AIs and military, no matter how well they're programmed, who can guarantee that they're going to make the right decision? Quotes,
yeah. No, that's actually super relevant for 2025, right? Because we're going to be seeing a lot more of this agentic AI that might make the decision and actually implement, push the button and stuff like that. So if they're not accurate 100%, or I don't know what the criteria is, certainly don't want them, doing operations or anything like that on people or pushing the buttons on drones. That I think, that's not without 100% or 99.59s of confidence level or something. Yeah. On another news, so I don't know if you guys have seen Google released a new Willow quantum chip, and so people are like, "Hey, what's going on?" So I found it interesting. What was interesting to me is I was reading about Sora, and then I was listening to watching a YouTube, and then it was all about Willow in the recommended links. So I clicked through a few of those links, and I found one article that was I thought was interesting, and is about how quantum and AI might interact. And this fellow, and it's kind of conjecture right now, but it does kind of make sense from a technology perspective. So he said one point of interaction is they might form complementary parts of a solution to a problem. So you might use AI to predict market demand, and you might use quantum to optimize the supply chain and that whole business problem of getting product out in a timely manner, the right product at the right time. That's kind of that problem it might solve. And then quantum might be able to do model training a lot faster and more efficiently. So cut back on the huge, and right now it's just mind-boggling how much energy AI is using and how much it's predicted to be using in the next few years. And so a quantum solution could be much more efficient that way. And then the third way this fellow described was quantum distributions. They may allow for more accurate AI models. And I think he didn't really justify why, but I'm probably thinking we can do, 1 billion more calculations or something. So just take in more data and train it and have more nodes in our layers and things like that. And then have you guys had any thoughts on that? Or I've only talked to one person. By way of background, I've been fascinated by quantum. I talked to one person at AIM, and I don't remember his name. So if you're on here, then let me know. But they used AI in a project they did in LA for optimizing container flow at the port. They didn't use AI, sorry, they used quantum. So they wrote an algorithm, and it's just this little piece of the big solution, but it's solving the what do they call it? The jobs. It's basically
Like the routing,
what's that?
like round robin routing versus some other type of routing that might be more
Yeah,
efficient
it's
or
like
something?
routing. It's not. It's they call it in mathematics the job shop. I think it's called the job shop problem, but yeah, you have a very complex, like every job's unique. So how do you optimize the job flow through a cabinet shop or something? That was the experience that I had. I was trying to help a cabinet shop figure that out, and that's why I researched the job shop. It's like it's NP hard. You can't optimize it using traditional methods.
That was
But
that was a speaker guy, Ed Heinbachel, the speaker.
okay, thank you. That
Yeah.
sounds right. Yeah, and he was
But
talking about.
yeah, you spoke to him after, and then you told me about the quantum and how they're using it. But yeah, he had that seeker company that was using Gen AI to find find new suspects on cold cases.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. And so he's in a unique position. We should ask him about this. but the overlap between quantum and AI, it just seems like there's got to be some huge synergies there between those two foundational technologies. So
Yeah, and it'll probably come into play with Gen AI. Artificial general intelligence also,
yeah.
because his company was working on that, and that's going to take another level of energy to have artificial general intelligence, much more than Gen AI. So buy energy stocks if I were you.
Well, actually, that along those lines, I have a neighbor who's heavily investing in underutilized power grid systems and stuff here in Utah, particularly. And well, he's got locations now across the nation. And then there's another AIM member who that's all they do is they build data centers. But the power, the data centers can go wherever the power is the cheapest, and that's what my neighbor's doing. I thought it was just fascinating as a kind of my civil engineer hat. It's like, man, all this infrastructure that has to go into making bits and ones and zeros appear on your screen.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing. Any other thoughts on? I mean, I think we're years away from quantum AI, other than what maybe Ed is doing. Ed might be able to bring that stuff together on very specific projects where it's really amenable. I'd love to
Yeah.
hear if you've seen any other projects where you're combining quantum and AI to form a solution.
Yeah, I'll have to reach out to him again. I haven't spoken to him in months, so
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. Okay, well, that was kind of my future looking thing. And does anybody have another topic they'd like to discuss? If not, I've got a book I'd like to ask everybody about.
well, I was just wondering if anybody had used Sora yet.
Oh,
It got a lot of attention, and I could not get in because it wasn't letting new accounts be created until today. But I haven't had a chance to go in and try it yet. So has anybody else gone in and used it yet?
Good to know that they are
nope.
back. I'll try right
Yeah,
now.
is getting hit so hard you couldn't create an account. But yeah, just before this meeting, I created an account and it let me get all the way in. So I'm ready to start playing with it. But it should be interesting. Maybe I'll have an update next week.
I'm gonna see if it lets me in now. I'm in the same boat. I tried
Uh,
last week and
you have to have a paid account. Do you have a paid account? Yeah,
I do.
you should be in then.
Sorry, do
You
you
should.
mind saying what that was called again?
Pardon?
What was that called again? Sora?
Sora,
Sora.
Sora. It's OpenAI's
Okay.
text to video application. So you can say something like, "Show me mammoths walking in the Sahara Desert," and then it'll give you a 5 or 10 second clip on mammoths walking in the desert. And then you can say, "All right, change those mammoths to robot mammoths," something like that. That was one of the demos they gave. But it remembers your previous request, so you don't have to say, "All right, now show me robot mammoths in the desert." You can just say, change it to this landscape, and it'll remember that it's supposed to be mammoths. So it's pretty amazing. Just
Yeah, that is,
text to video.
super cool.
Looks like I'm in. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, you get like a certain number of tokens credit. And so, if you create a video, it's going to cost this many tokens. If it's a longer video at a higher quality, it's going to cost more tokens.
Yeah. Well, they had an outage last week, right? That was part of the problem that they had.
Well,
And
there's so
so,
many people try to hit it at once. It just brought it to his knees. And so
okay,
it rolled it out slower.
gotcha. That's okay. So in that, there's this. I haven't played with this one either. There's an open source implementation of video generation called CauseVid that it's MIT and Adobe are putting that out. So that's another one to check out if this is your jam. CAUSVID. Let me pop that up and see. The little blurb that I had makes it seem like it's really a research tool right now, but I'll post that link in the chat once it lets me. Still trying to load. Man, that's slow.
This really is phenomenal. When you look at how far we've come with
Yeah.
this technology in such a short amount of time, this is really phenomenal.
It is amazing. Amazing. Okay. And do we have any other topics to discuss news-wise? My browsers are all locked up, so I can't. I was gonna go jump back to my headlines, but I can't even see them. So
So you got that microphone there. You doing podcasts now?
I got this to-do podcast, and I haven't really done it yet. So I've got a little light set up and everything, and a few concepts storyboarded. Then I lost my creative who was helping me do that. So I'll get back to it someday, I hope. But so I had a question for everybody about. I've been reading a book called Why Machines Learn, and it's all about the math behind AI. And so I'm almost through it. I'm gonna have to go through it again to make sure I understand the math. It's not so far, the math isn't so hard. It's just trying to make sure I understand it well enough to maybe even implement a few things. But does anybody, and I know a couple of you guys, I think Rob, you went back and got an AI degree, or was it David? Somebody did anyway. And
Yeah, I
I'm
did.
wondering, cool. I remembered. What resources would you recommend for just coming up to speed on yeah. I guess what I'm looking for is a little bit more in depth than most of the tutorials are out there, but I don't really want to be an AI researcher per se, like math researcher, but more on
For
the
what?
application.
Like learning about statistics and how stuff is made, like how decisions are made, because
Yeah,
that's
well, or just
effectively all it is.
okay.
So if I don't know how many of you guys have taken a college statistics class, but a lot of the AI modeling is really based off of that. So if you have your college statistics book, you want to dust it off and reread it. Um, a lot of the algorithms are basically that is ingested into coding. So they have different ones for like different types of learning. Um, the math gets more and more complex the more abstract the data is, and the more you're trying to do pattern recognition and things like that. But um, it you know um, it's it's fascinating to see. It really is fascinating. So if that's something that interests you guys, it's worth dusting off the books and just getting brushed up on your statistics and calculus, and give it a whirl, because the
And
math it really just it proves you how valuable uh, the invention of the calculator, how valuable that was to society, is the same thing here. It just does it for you in the background, and does a lot of predictive analytics for you, so that you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense how you came to that. Where you could figure it out mathematically. It's not magic. It's not. It looks like magic, but it's not. It's just math.
yeah.
You guys, forgive me, I'm on my skeptical horse today. Remember what Einstein said, that statistics is as good as people make it look, right?
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the fascination I have is like statistics are unintuitive for us as a human species. Like very few people intuit statistics, especially at scale. And I think that's what you're saying, Rob, is the fundamental kernels of what AI does at scale. You learn in a statistics book, but then what's interesting to me is how that behaves at scale when you get to a deep neural net or something like that, where you have hundreds or thousands of nodes and millions or whatever, that you just start to magnify that. You
Yeah.
don't,
So like the base stuff that we learned was really like, okay, this is some of the base decisions that any type of course is going to teach you. Hey, this is how statistics works. This is how decisions are made, right? Um, but when you get to modeling, some models work better than others, and so some of that study is fascinating to see why you would choose one model over another, and the fact that some of this AI can do that in the background quickly. That math is not easy. It's not easy. It's not remotely easy. Most of it's all Greek. So it's like when you're looking at it, you're like, that stuff. The curriculum that I went through was half and half. You did half of it using like uh, the SAS Enterprise Miner, where you actually got to use and see the manipulation of the model itself, and then the other half was proving that the model was mathematically correct. So you actually had to do the math behind the model. So there was a lot of mathematically proving that the model that SAS did was correct. And yeah, you were able to prove it, but good God, the fact that AI is able to do this like in a blink of an eye, I guess I just have a real appreciation for that, for all the math,
and
all the paper that I went through. It's a lot.
Hey, Rob, if you're saying it's like decision making and why decision making behind it, can you just take like the gambling software and apply to AI? How is it relevant? That also kind of like predicts uh, the decision making on the player side as well as on the machine side.
So I'm not following your question. I'm sorry.
Like uh, computer gambling algorithms,
Okay.
that predict the move of the opposite player, like chess, like didn't have it's been existing for like ever,
Mm-hmm.
right?
mhm.
How does that correlate with what we do with the AI now? Is AI much different, or is it just a better version, more sophisticated version?
So it all comes down to a value at the very end. So you're looking for how far away um, from the goalpost are you aiming? And there are um, there's certain things you look for in your formula to be able to say, okay, this one is better than this other one. So, like if you're doing a neural network uh, versus like a decision tree or something like that, and being able to say, okay, this one worked better. I can tell that mathematically that this one is better um, just by the math. This one on this data set is a better fit. The fact that those calculations just are done like that, that's the value that I think AI can bring, is that you don't have to spend all day like trying to figure out what's the right model to do, is that AI could just do it quickly in the background. And I think
think
that's the benefit that AI brings. When whoever does the model training is to be able to switch between which model works for which set of data. Um, it's to me, it's fascinating. It's just
I think
fascinating.
it just got more complex or more sophisticated, like you were saying. So we had we had neural nets. We developed neural nets. Then we developed deep neural nets. Then we built off of those things to build natural language processing. Then we built some other stuff like what's that stuff? It's not transcoders, transcribers. It's one of the big components inside large language models that helps predict
Transformers.
the next word. Yeah, yeah, thank you. So we just keep building these new parts and put them all together, and now we have large language models. So it's nothing has changed. Like a neural net, which helps, it's one of the foundational pieces of building the language model, is still what it is. Like back propagation is still, you still optimize it the same way you did in 2010. But now we're just way more sophisticated because we have all the other things put together, and then we have to optimize, make sure they're correct as a system and not just one part. And I don't know.
Yeah. I just think, like, when I looked at some of these video rendering softwares that I forget the thing that I was just looking here. Which one was this one? Cosvid. This is crazy town. I mean, this stuff
Yeah.
this looks so real. And the fact that this is generated off of, you know, there's some algorithm that says, okay, this is going to make it look better than this other one. You know, that this is done, you know, like that. This just blows my mind.
Yeah, you know, if you're talking about the history of AI, I did my first stuff before any of you were born, back in about 1991. And it's just interesting how it's evolved. But you go back even further, it was back in the 50s and 60s, people came up with these really arcane learning models, but they never had enough compute or enough data to actually do anything with them. And it wasn't until, let's be honest, it wasn't until cloud computing came along, when you could rent the compute you needed, that you could actually make some progress with this. And then along with the developing the arcane learning models were the arcane, rarely used because no one had the data to do it, the models that would fill in missing data, kind of create synthetic data so you could get better training sets. It's just fascinating if you look at the history. If you really want to get disgusted, you go back to the 50s and 60s when they were developing neural networks. They used banana slugs because their nervous system was visible to the naked eye. And they would poke and jab banana slugs and have electrodes so they could figure out how the electrical signals propagated. It's interesting. It's fascinating.
Yeah, in that book, Neil, he talks about some of the experiments. One guy was experimenting on cats.
Oh yeah, cat brains. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of disgusting the way it started. It's because
open
they
their
were trying
eyes
to
up.
figure out how the nervous system worked and therefore how the nervous system learned. Like,
Yeah.
what is the process in the in the human neural system that says something heading towards my face quickly is more important than something is headed towards my face slowly.
Yeah.
Anyway, fascinating.
Determining edges and
Exactly. Yep.
how your eyes, we have very specific low level cells that then go up to higher level cells, and then at some point it bubbles up and hits our brain and says, hey, this is an object, this is a baseball coming at you.
You should pay attention to this one. Yeah, just
move. Yeah.
But that's my contribution. The old guy contribution to the cause today is just to go in the Wayback Machine.
I don't think you're older than a lot of us here, there, Neil.
I was working on a project using neural networks. We were the first people to purchase a neural network chip.
Wow.
Before that, it was all software simulation used. So
that's crazy. Well, and yeah, another big innovation that enabled this was the GPU, the way they've evolved to do things. But and that was kind of accidental too, right? Because that came from gaming, and then
which is why NVIDIA is the leader. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, interesting times.
Indeed. Okay, does anybody have any AI projects that they're contemplating or starting or that they can share with us?
I'm thinking about starting one that's kind of nerdy and boring. I'm hoping to use LLMs to, get people some good starting points for data architecture. So data architectures, really expensive. Most people don't do it until they're mid-sized business, and by then, you've got some crap, but it's crappy. Moving to the new thing, and so then you've spent $10 million. But I think I can use an LLM to go through all of their, recorded phone calls, Slack conversations, emails, and stuff like that to kind of deduce a pretty good starting place. Well, I was going to try a POC on that. Hopefully start it, over Christmas sometime, but
That's not boring at all, Adam. That's amazing. That would be super fun.
could be fun.
Yeah.
We'll see. I keep on reading about some models that might be interesting. Maybe do some pre-trained and see what I can get out of that.
Yeah.
I'll throw this out. I'm not on the program committee. So on the advisory board of a couple of startups, and one of them is a couple of them are AI startups. One is a really interesting use of agentic AI for supply chain analytics, where they've broken down, they've got specialized agents that'll do specific tasks, then hand it off to another agent for example. If you're interested, he'd be happy, I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to us. Just
That'd
it's
be
an
fun.
interesting, agentic AI is relatively newish. Just these guys have kind of got on that board, that technology pretty early in their startup. So they've done some interesting things. So if you're interested, I'd be happy to set it up.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
It's a great application.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like one agent will help you write the query, and then another agent will quality check the query. Just these interesting the way they've broken up the tasks so that my analogy was it's sort of like the microservices approach to architecture, where I'm going to have one thing do something, and that way if something better comes along, I can replace that thing with the new thing, and the rest of the system still operates.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk to him.
Yeah. And I mean, we can make time whenever, but we do need to, like, as a group, decide. So we'll meet next week, and that'll be the 20th, and then probably should we just not meet until the first Friday? And well, the first Friday is the 3rd, so that's right after. Do you want to meet the 3rd, or do you want to meet on the 10th? Do you guys have any opinions?
Probably the 10th.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
10th is
Because
better.
we'll be okay.
It seems like everyone's kind of taking that week, the New Year's week off, the whole week.
Yeah.
All right, since I own the Zoom meeting, I'll hold next week's. I'll cancel the 27th and the 3rd then. Yes?
Yep.
Okay. You got it. I'll do it right now.
Thank you. Okay. Well, anything else to discuss? This is got a lot covered. January, I think, will be our first 5th Friday. And if you recall, we were going to, it was the 31st of January. We wanted to do an in-person event, something that may be more fun. And we talked about it. We haven't, like, I don't remember who was going to do the research on that.
Pickleball. Doesn't you want to play pickleball?
Oh yeah, it was Sean. Pickleball.
I think it was Sean,
yeah.
How
Okay.
about axe throwing?
Axe throwing.
Hey, there's some fun axe throwing bars in Salt Lake.
I know,
Okay.
that's why I'm saying.
That could be fun.
So let's keep that in our mind, and we'll try to, Neil, we'll need to figure out if we can get any sponsorship or anything for that, if we can have any budget.
Yeah.
But then, we'll try to get it out a few weeks in ahead, so that if we need to, like, vary the time or anything like that, if we want to go from 2 to 4 or something like that, or if we want to go all afternoon, or I don't know if
Yeah, let me do this. Let me also talk to a couple of vendors that are interested in sponsoring anything to see if they'd be up for doing this one.
yeah, that'd be wonderful. That'd be great. Thank you. Okay. That's what
Cool.
I've got for today. Do we, if anybody wants to ask any other questions, we've got a few minutes of everybody's brain power here. And if not, we'll just regain 12 minutes of our day.
Thanks, everyone.
The challenge is to
Thank
find
you.
what's going on with the drones by next Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully.
Stay safe, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye.